Alright, friends of the channel, welcome back. I've been absent for a while, and I've been doing a lot of pest control. I was basically gone for about a month. I didn't get to shoot for about a month, and so I'm just starting to get kind of back into it again here. Today I want to go over my beloved Impact M4 from FX. You guys see me shooting this gun on the channel all the time, so I figured I'd kind of go over it and tell you what I've done to it. I have more stuff coming for it, so today I'm just going to kind of go over it. I'll just start from back to front. The first thing I have in here is a digital SecMet gauge, and I did that just so it's a little bit easier to read, so that I can kind of see the recovery times and stuff on it. If you've watched the channel for very long, you know that I was having some issues with the stock regulator. It doesn't recover fast enough for the way that I shoot. And you know, I probably could put a smaller plenum on it and get that a little bit faster recovery, but that's the way it is. You know, I use this gun for a lot of stuff, not just for that, but honestly, this is really probably going to be my silhouette gun going forward. The thing is when I go out and I practice silhouette stuff with it, when I'm done, I'm up here on this farm and I do pest control afterwards. So what I've been trying to do for quite some time is have a gun that I can silhouette shoot lighter pellets with and get tremendous amount of shot count, and also shoot slugs that I can take out pests with out here on the farm. That's where I've always kind of been. And you guys also know that I'm always trying to push the limits on the speed that I shoot the pellets at. I like to shoot around 1,000 feet per second with stuff, and more if I can. And that's not an easy task to get them to fly right. I'm not in denial about that. I know they're not supposed to go that fast, but I want to shoot them faster like that, and I really like the way the gun snaps. It's harmonically better unless you're shooting really slow, but I have to dual purpose this gun sometimes, so I like it to feel a certain way from the lighter pellets to the moderate weight slugs. I don't shoot heavy slugs. I do shoot 31 grain out of this a little bit, but not really. It really won't push the slugs when I have a pellet tune on it. So I typically run the 20 grain slugs, and I shoot the smaller stuff, the mongoose, with it. You can take out bigger things like hogs with the 20 grainers, but it's not really ideal. They don't quite get the penetration. It'd probably be better to use something like the 25 grain redesigns, so that they penetrate better, because those little slugs, they pop, and I just don't think they're really getting enough energy on target sometimes for the hog, especially if they're medium size. But they work good for mongoose, and that's mostly what I use the Impact for. I tune it back down when I go home. I live in a sort of residential area, and so I like to keep it nice and quiet. I don't want to, you know, just overpower the gun and shoot it, you know, in this small area. So I tune it back down for pellets. Typically now I'm shooting the 17 grain pellets at my house at about 840 feet per second. That's kind of where those Norma pellets are really accurate, and that's nice and quiet, and I can shoot pests and pest birds and stuff at the house, and it doesn't really make the neighbor's dog bark or anything like that. Full circle back to the regulator issues I had. I put a Huma air regulator in this. It's the high pressure one. It's the 100 to 200. It definitely recovers faster, and it's definitely more consistent. I'm getting better SDs with it. I don't think that the FX regulators are really bad. I just don't think that they have the right stacks in them, stiff enough springs or something to be consistent at those higher pressures, because they're tuned more for pellets. I think this gun comes from the factory tuned for the 18 grain JSBs, but I'll tell you right now, it shoots the 15.9s absolutely amazing. I love that pellet. The FX 15.9, which is just a JSB heavy, this gun shoots those amazing. So if you're just popping birds with it and doing silhouette stuff, those 15.9 FX pellets are fantastic. I have lots of them. Now I have the Norma 15.9s that I do not like nearly as much. You can push those JSB 15.9s really fast. The Normas do not like to go fast it seems, in my testing so far. I've only shot about 500-600 of them, I think, but they like to go slow. They're like European field target rounds or something. It has the Huma reg. It has the Sekhmet digital gauge. Yeah, they're a little bit finicky. You got to make sure the battery's charged, but it's not like the battery has to be charged to keep the gun working. You just won't be able to see it if it's dead. I've never actually had it die. Probably the lowest I've seen it's like 15%, because I just hook the little thing on there and it charges up in, I don't know, 30 minutes or something, and then you can shoot thousands of rounds before it's dead. Going forward a little bit more, I thought about putting a vertical grip on it. I really like the Ergo grip, but this grip is pretty close to vertical, and it has a nice palm swell. This stock grip is actually really nice, and my Maverick has the standard Ergo grip on it that was made for FX, and it's the more angled one. I like it too. I like different feels of different guns. I thought about putting a vertical on my Maverick, but I have the Saber Tactical bag rider on my Maverick, and I do a lot of that just to kind of protect the gun. You see these rock walls that I shoot off. This is my shooting benches. When you guys watch me shoot, I'm shooting off rock walls like this. I'm not shooting off a bench. This stuff moves around, it rolls, it's all offset and everything. So all the shooting you're seeing me doing is usually off a sandbag setting on this, and sometimes I'm not even on a sandbag. I'm just on a bipod on this lava rock, and this stuff is sharp. It chews guns up. And so if you look at my bottle here real quick, I have shrink wrap around my bottle so that, like, when I set them on the wall and you're readjusting, you don't bang them up and chip your bottles and stuff on the rock walls, because I live in the land of rocks. You can see them all behind me. It's rocks everywhere, and so I have a lot of little things on my gun to kind of protect it like that. Maybe not a lot on this gun, but moving forward a little bit more, inside of it right now I have a stiffer hammer spring, and I did that because I'm running 150 bar on this gun for 15 grain pellets. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to get that sharper impulse so that I can push them faster. And the benefit to that is that I can also shoot, 25 grain slugs at 1,020 feet per second if I want to pest. That does sometimes require me turning the quick tune a little bit, but with that pressure on the regulator so high, you actually have to run the hammer spring a little bit firmer. And the stock hammer spring, I think, is good for most people. But when I was running those higher regulator pressures, I had to run the spring deeper into the stroke. This is not something that the airgun industry does. This is something that motorcycle suspension does and car suspension. They typically won't run their suspension that deep into the spring stroke all the time. And so I put the stiffer spring in there to take some of the tension off the spring and not have it just so jammed up all the time. So far, it's working for me. I really haven't done any scientific tests to see if it's better or not. I put this thing at 165 bar because I was going to try and shoot some 31 grain slugs out of it at like 1,100 feet per second. And it does need a tungsten hammer. If the stiff spring, bigger transfer port, high regulator pressures, the hammer's too light to push heavier slugs. So this is basically a 25 grain and below shooter. Going forward a little bit, I don't have the trigger in the match. I have it in the just like single stage, very light, probably too light. One thing I've noticed on this gun is when I'm hunting, if it's cocked and loaded, and I typically don't run safeties. I come from the pistol world. They don't really have safeties on them. I use muzzle control, but every once in a while you bang the gun, the sear trips off and it goes off. I've nearly shot a pig on accident because I tripped on a rock on my way to get down to take a shot at him, and I bumped the gun and it fired off, and I nearly got him with that. So I don't like that. I might add a little bit more back to the trigger. I don't ever shoot this gun with gloves or anything because it's 80 damn degrees outside all the time. So the trigger is very light. I don't have a gauge. I do that because when I'm silhouette shooting, I can just tap the thing and it goes off. A biggie on this, I put a first stage regulator back in it. I do not have the gauge, so it's set up more like you would find on a Maverick or something like that. I don't care what the front gauge says on it. I set it to 185 bar, and I did that just like you would tune a Maverick. I disabled the reg in here. I put it up to whatever, 250 pounds or something, full blast, and I set the regulator off the bottle. And it's a pain in the ass to do it the first time because you have to degas the gun pretty much every time. But the front reg on this gun is set at 185 just so that I can run 300 bar bottles, and it stays a lot more consistent all the way through. On the other regs, I was running the 250 bar bottles, and I was still getting lots of reg creep and stuff. So this gun doesn't really have much reg creep. 185, 150, I should say 150 in here. I just point back here because that's where you view it. So I am running the first stage regulator, and I've been extremely happy with that. I got that from a YouTube friend, YouTube channel fan. He gave it to me. He doesn't necessarily want to be named. So anyway, I very much appreciate him. I just kind of rebuilt it and cleaned it up and everything and put it in the gun. So this piece right here is the first stage regulator, but I still have the plug in the other side. Going over here, I took this charging handle off of my Maverick. It has more knurling in it, and when I'm silhouette shooting and I'm going really fast, I've had my fingers actually slip off. Sometimes you double feed or whatever, and so this I took off my Maverick. I'm not sure if it's aftermarket or not, or if that's the way the Maverick came from FX, but it has more knurling than the impact one. The impact one is fairly smooth, and so I put this more knurled one on there, and I put the smooth one on my Maverick, which is nice because I'm always just kind of cocking that one real slow when I'm hunting, because my Maverick is my hunting gun. When I'm going dedicated hunting, I don't really shoot it much except for long range, and it's my hunting gun. It's set up to shoot slugs very hard and very powerfully. Going to the front, this bipod is a China bipod. I am not proud of that, but I wanted to test a bunch of the popular bipods on the market to see which ones I wanted on the gun. And these are all knockoffs, and I hate intellectual property theft, but I can't just go grab $400 and $600 bipods to test them. So I find that I really like this one YouTube hunter guys use, specifically Matt Dubber. This is the knockoff version. It's not as good as real ones. I've seen the real ones at gun stores now. We don't really have gun stores where I live, but when I was on the mainland I looked, and they are much nicer. I may end up getting a genuine one of these. The only thing I don't like about it is how far down it sits on the gun. When I throw it up onto a bag, I like to get the gun lower into the bag, but I do like it because it snugs up pretty close to the bottle. The AccuTac sits away from the bottle a little bit more, but it's a little bit flatter. So I leave the AccuTac, the fake AccuTac, which I've had to do modifications for because the fake ones are not that good, but they still have the same kind of functions, and so that's what I wanted to see the function of the thing before I spent the money on the really good ones. So I'll eventually likely get the really good ones because these ones are getting kind of banged up and the buttons and stuff don't work as well. So I just bought the gamut of the industry fakes just to kind of see which ones I like, and then I'm going to end up spending better money on my nice gun on a better bipod that's not as like rickety and the buttons work better and stuff. But for now it just gets banged up on lava rocks. The feet are all chewed up and stuff on it. Going forward, you can see, I think this might be a different gauge than the stock one. This is a 300 bar. The stock one I think is like a 250 if I remember right. Don't quote me on that. But I think I put a different gauge in this. I have this right here is my camera mount, so when you guys are watching me doing like the steel shooting and stuff, this is the camera that faces back at me.
961, 987, 900.
The next big thing on here is this piece right here. This is, I think it's called barrelholder.com. This is part of the barrel tensioning system. So This has a carbon fiber tensioned barrel. I did that just to keep more consistency, because when you start pushing high power, and although I wasn't shooting that high power, I'm shooting like, you know, the 15 and 17 grainers at high regulator pressures and fast speeds, and this keeps the barrel stiffer. You can see that this barrel is a hell of a lot stiffer than the stock one. So this piece right here clamps the barrel, and then this carbon fiber goes over top of the barrel, and then this right here is a nut that jams the carbon fiber and stiffens the whole system up so it's not whippy anymore. So if you guys don't know what a barrel tensioner is, that's what it does. The Impact only has one grub screw for the barrel, so you have to make sure that this is tightened correctly, and you can't over tighten it, or it pulls your barrel out when you're doing it. So it takes a while to set up, and you have to index your liners. You can't just slap this stuff on and go. It takes a while to set it up. So FX uses the liner system. I'm sure most of you know that if you're watching my channel, because you probably either want to own an Impact or you have an Impact. You have a barrel with a liner inside of it. So I have the stock liner in here, which is a 1 in 24 twist. I have the carbon fiber sleeve. I actually have O-rings at the end of that to help like dampen some of that vibration a little bit, because the stock guns, when you shoot them, they're harmonically very quiet. First shots with the FX M4. Never fired this thing before. We got the mag in. That's either insanely quiet or tuned insanely weak. I put a couple of those O-rings back in there because the carbon does make the gun louder, because it's not just like buffering against that rubber. And then this tube slides over the barrel, and I have it buffered by wraps of masking tape. So I have a bunch of wraps of masking tape in there that are basically measured with a micrometer, so that it slides perfectly over top and dampens that a little bit. And then you tighten it down with a nut. And then I have this Donnie FL koi. This is a 7-inch koi, and I got it because you can see the 700cc bottle can hit the moderator. And this one, I got this cone-shaped nut so that it clears, so everything clears and it free floats. You can see these O-rings. This holds on my FX chronograph like that, and that gets it close to the end of the barrel without actually putting it on the barrel. And then I switch it on and off different guns all the time. So this is a 7-inch koi. I took the aluminum off the koi. I took the felt out of the koi, and I redid it in carbon fiber with O-ring, little small O-rings on the end. And what that did is it changes the tone of the moderator. It kind of goes from a little bit of a ping sound to a little bit of a sound. It kind of deadens the sound, and it makes it a little bit lighter up front. We're talking very marginally lighter, so I'm not going to claim anything like that. But I took the felt out because I shoot so fast, so much, and in very humid environments that you can literally see condensation off my gun, like dripping off of it, and that felt inside there gets wet. And another tip from a fan follower friend, he was having very sporadic accuracy until he removed that felt, and I didn't see a huge difference in having the felt in there or not as far as sound wise. So everything through here in the barrel system is carbon. It's carbon on the outside, it's carbon on the inside. It still has the stock liner because this typically shoots pellets. When you do that tensioner system, typically you lose the ability to have these front Picatinny rails. And if you look on this side, I have an infrared light on there, and so I need these Picatinny rails for my cameras, my infrared light, and I don't know, random other things that I put on there sometimes. So the trick is, originally I was going to try and grind away in here so that it would slide over this barrel holder system, but it's really doesn't work that well. You'd have to remove a ton of material. I don't have very good tools at my house. I just live in an apartment. What I did is I actually moved this all the way forward, and I used just the 2 front screws to hold it back on, and it does work. It's not quite as sturdy as it used to be, but it doesn't really need to be sturdy there. It just needs to be able to hold my camera and my infrared light. and then I slide the rail and I slide it back even here, and it kind of holds and sturdies it up. So if you put the tensioner system on your gun, as long as it's not like a homemade one or something, you can still run this piece. Viking air gunner, his tensioner system, I think he put carbon over top of carbon or something like that, and it's too fat. So if you look on his, he doesn't have his pick rail anymore with his tensioner system on there. I got it on there. I did send him a message on how to do this, but his is too thick, I think. Okay, so we went over, got 700 bottles. I also have multiple 580cc 300 bottles. I have 300cc bottles. I have the stock 250. I have another 700. I have another 380. So I have lots of bottles currently with me because I shoot so many rounds in a day sometimes. 1,000 to 1,500 some days. I bring all those bottles with me, and I bring a 1.6 liter refill bottle. And you might just say, why don't you get a 9-liter tank? I ride a motorcycle and I carry all my gun stuff on my motorcycle, and I can't carry one of those big tanks with me, otherwise I would. So inside my gun case, it has slots that I can put all these bottles in. They just slide in. So I bring thousands of cc's of air with me. I just do it in individual bottles and slide them on and off. So with that first stage regulator, I can run the 300cc bottles now, and they go down to 185. But you still see on this side, you can still see your bar pressure. So you can see I'm at 300 right now. On top of the gun right now, I have the Commander NV500 Eagle from One Leaf. This is a day-night scope. This is the sunshade. You can screw it on and off for different lighting conditions. In real bright light, I find that on this particular NV500, it does like the sunshade on it. I also have the Commander NV400 on my Maverick. But this is a little bit smaller scope than that, and so I put it on this impact. My impacts, I like to keep it a little more compact and a little more light. Typically, I just do like pesting with this scope. This is my hunting scope and kind of my sort of like target shooting scope, just for kind of everything. These scopes are fantastic for the price point. I know that sounds like a commercial, but they're great for the money. This is a 50mm lens I have on there right now. It's got one shot zero. I've got like 6 different projectiles programmed into it. I got 7 or 8 actually. You have different zeros that you can put it on. So I have a slug setting, I have a pellet setting, and it's pretty close. I did quite a bit of time testing to set up all the profiles in here. And so if I want to shoot, I label all my magazines, right? So if I want to shoot slugs, I go to the slug profile, I stick it on the JSB 25 knockout, and I just hit a couple buttons, and it's pretty much zeroed for that. And I usually take if I'm going to hunt, I usually take a couple of shots to make sure it's zeroed correctly, and then we go. It's very dark outside. It gets very dark in these jungles. You flip that open so you can get full light. I'm very, very happy with these for night vision. And they work dang good during the day. And for recording stuff for the channel, which I haven't really put a lot up lately, they just got one touch record, one touch from day to night. You can review the videos. This is the zoom. It's really easy. You just spin it, and to save the battery, I found out a little bit later after I was killing the batteries all the time, to save the battery, to turn off the LCD inside, you can just click the button once and it just puts it on to standby mode. The infrared light's great. This is more about the gun than it is about the scope, but you're just a pester and you want a really damn good scope that you can see a long ways with, that just has it's got a laser rangefinder on it. You just click the button at your target and it laser range finds it. It moves the reticle for you. All you do is pull the trigger. It's really brainless. These one-leaf scopes are fantastic. There's lots of other scopes out there. These are the ones that I have experience with, and they really are a great bang for the buck. They're about $500. Sounds like a lot, but if you look at I've got like 7 scopes. I'm about ready to get into that for this gun, or 7 scopes I should say, and sometimes they go on and off of this gun. Like, this has been on my gun since I got it almost the whole entire time. Matter of fact, I don't know if I have taken it off yet. It's that good and that universal. I am not going to use that for silhouette shooting. It does not work for that, but for like a hunting, you know, pesting birds, shooting some paper with it. It's got this one-shot zero. You can put all kinds of different pellets and stuff in there. It works amazing. So today I'm going to be doing some silhouette shooting, and I'm actually not going to record it for you guys because I actually want to practice, and I can't get a scope cam on this scope. This is actually kind of one of my favorite little scopes, and that's because of what it is. It's a 4-16 by 44. It's a compact. It's from West Hunter. It's got a little kill flash on it. It's a great little scope kind of for doing silhouette stuff. It's not perfect. It doesn't work quite as good as my Element, but it's less powerful, and so it works really good for the silhouette stuff. I ordered these dovetailed to Picatinny mounts, and so all I do is mount stays with the scope. So on my Impact I have a bunch of these things, and I just slide them off. They're not the stock, they're aftermarket ones. I found them when I was doing this for my P-Rod, and I just slide it off and slide it back on. That way I don't have to take them on and off and try and re-zero them or anything. I just slide them all to the same exact spot right here, and they're zeroed. And then this one's labeled 15.9, and so this is pretty much dedicated for 15.9 grain, and it's all set up in my ballistics app, and I just kind of review where all the distances are, and then I start shooting. So little first focal plane, 4-16 by 44 compact. It's nice and small. The eye relief's pretty good in it. I do have a thing on here so that I can mount a flashlight on it, because every once in a while at my house, like, something's squawking in the night, and I go out there with a flashlight and I flip it on. Now I shoot everything with airsoft guns or BB pistols. I got hogs and stuff right outside my bedroom window. They're squealing and crap, so I jump out of bed and pop them with CO2 pistols and stuff. That is the gist of my Impact. Camera's shutting down on me, says I'm talking too much, so FX Impact M4, 700mm sniper. That's what I've done to it. Love the gun, think they're amazing. Love the modularity of the FX platforms in general. I think they're an amazing manufacturer. They're #1 for a reason. Not that there's not other great guns out there that I would like to try and stuff, but throwing my money at it, I'm choosing FX. And my next gun's going to be an FX2, just so that I can have parts interchangeability and things like that. Kind of buying into the brand, sort of like I did with like KTM. And that doesn't mean I'm religious to it if something better comes along, but they have such a wide line of stuff. You can just tailor anything. They're so modular. You don't have to deal with any like weird bottle systems or anything. Everything is super modular, and a lot of the parts interchange. Like I said, I got the Maverick thing here, the regulators from different stuff. I really like the brand. That's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Give it a like if you like it. Ask questions down below. I'm not one to ask to like and subscribe. If you like the content, you'll do that on your own or whatever. If you do, leave some comments. I'm really good about responding to comments. I'll give you whatever knowledge I know. Go get yourself an Impact and set it up the way you want and have some fun. Take care.